All right. Hello again. After the last talk about what art is defined as, specifically coming to the definition of stylized expression, the next step that I will take is to dovetail off of that definition to move towards explaining aspects of the term engagement. Now, my definition of engagement is meaningful interaction. So we'll start at it from the same way that we entered onto art, although in this case, we'll actually start with the word itself. Engagement, which is a modification of engage. Engage can be brought down to interact, I believe. I believe that is a pretty sound statement, because you engage with things, you engage with your friends, you engage in activities. And to be sure, it is not, how would I say, grammatically correct to interact in an activity, but you're still engaging in interaction when you are engaging in an activity, which is kind of interesting. Interacting with the idea of interaction. At any rate, we can say that engagement is a form of interaction, but what exactly is that form? Because we wouldn't have the word engagement if, on some level, it didn't mean something else. So then, let's go to the other parts of that definition that I put forth, which is meaningful interaction. So what does it mean for something to be meaningful? Well, full as a postfix is usually meaning in abundance or full of. And so, generally speaking, when you're saying a thing that has full on the end of it, it's meaning that it is full of that thing. Fanciful, full of fancy, merciful, full of mercy. That sort of deal. So it would follow that something that is meaningful is full of meaning. But what does it mean for something to be meaningful? Well, if we go back to art, the idea of it being stylized expression, and expression being the conveyance of meaning, one could argue that something being full of meaning is something that has a lot to say. And so being full of meaning is full of definition, full of statements, full of definitions and full of statements. So in other words, the idea that something is full of meaning is that it says stuff about stuff. And that's a very, very gross way of putting it. But yes, to be full of meaning is to be saying a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. It's a very basic way of putting it, but we're kind of breaking these things down from their more academic forms to something that actually makes some amount of reasonable sense. So to be full of meaning is to say a lot of stuff about stuff. So then from there, we get to interaction. And what does it mean to interact? And the funny thing is that you kind of get cyclical here, where interacting is engaging with a thing. But if we don't want to use engagement in the definition of interaction, to interact with something is to use or I keep on wanting to avoid using the word interact. Act in a way that connects you to the other item in some way or fashion. That would be the meaning of interact. It is to act in a way that connects you to the other item in some way, shape, or fashion. In other words, to interact with a lawnmower is to act in a way that connects you to the lawnmower. That could be pulling the thing to get it started. That could be pushing it. That could be putting it away, throwing it out. It's a very, very broad word. But that's what it means to interact. It is to act in a way that connects you to the thing. And I realize I'm repeating these definitions over and over again, but it's in part to solidify aspects of how we're talking about them. So with that in mind, meaningful interaction means action that connects you to some other thing in a way that defines aspects of reality. Or, let me see if I can't say that again and actually believe what I just said. Meaningful interaction is action that connects you to some item, thing, idea, or concept that defines or states a concept or idea about reality. Or, to be even broader, states something or defines something about something. To make it very, very broad, such that it actually encapsulates all of the things that we use the word to refer to. Because you can engage with just about anything. You can engage with imaginary things, so that's why reality has to be taken out of the definition, and it's just something. With that in mind, meaningful interaction, we have stated what that is. So, going from there, we talk about engagement itself as that concept of meaningful interaction. But what use is that term now? I mean, we use it with regards to things, but the reason why I have looked at it within the context of art is, well, that was actually deliberate, because I believe that that engagement is very, very important to the concept of what makes good and bad art. And that's probably something that I will get into at a later point, I suppose. But in much shorter fashion than it took with art, and defining that as stylized expression, we have come across a definition of engagement, which is meaningful interaction. And to repeat it once more, because I need to make sure that I actually believe myself when I say it. Engagement is meaningful interaction. Meaningful interaction is an action that connects you to an item, concept, idea, or thing that says or defines something about something. And there you have it. Well, that was easy.